I'm Fox Canning. Today I'm going to tell you a story about a Chinese entrepreneur, Sunn Dawu, who was raided due to his support of democratic principles in China. At midnight on November 11th, 2020, about 300 police officers, armed with assault rifles and police dogs, broke into the home of private entrepreneur Sunn Dawu and his company in Hebei Province, arrested 28 people, including Sunn and his wife, Sunn's 2 sons, 2 daughters-in-law, and other family members, as well as a number of company executives, charging them with illegal fundraising. The arrest of Sunn Dawu immediately drew the attention of Chinese media at home and abroad because of Sunn's high popularity. Now aged 66, Sunn was born in Hebei Province to a family of farmers who grew up in extreme poverty. He started from scratch as a breeder in 1985 and founded the Dawu Agricultural Group. In 1995, the group became one of China's top 500 private enterprises. Today, the group has more than 9,000 employees, fixed assets of 2 billion yuan, and an annual output value of more than 3 billion yuan. In terms of his business, Sunn Dawu can be considered a successful entrepreneur. But that's not enough to make him popular. Besides being successful in business, he is also a great thinker. His passion for reading led to his pursuit of a constitutional democracy in communist China. In 2003, he was arrested and sentenced to prison for posting pro-freedom articles on his company's website. However, he was not afraid of the threats that the authorities would make against him and has been interviewed by the Voice of America, Radio Free Asia, and other foreign media criticizing China's economic system. He has also written articles in support of human rights lawyers who have been suppressed by the powerful. He is also a pro-reformer. He pioneered a new corporate system of constitutional private enterprise and labor management system by establishing the separation of powers, of ownership, decision-making power, and executive power in his own company. This is very innovative, as the Chinese society places great emphasis on the dominance of one power. On the other hand, he is also a dreamer. Since 2000, he cooperated with several villages suffering from extreme poverty, including the one he grew up in, to form a Dawu city, a paradise in his own words. There he provides free education for farmers and their children, with a lavishly constructed but inexpensive school, and he also provides cooperative medical care. He said here everyone could live peacefully with affordable houses, medicines, and education. Sunn Dawu once said publicly that the Dawu Group does not aim for profit, but for development and for the common good. He was once hailed by the media as a model of entrepreneurship and the hero of Chinese farmers, but why did he end up being arrested? Let's see what the authorities have to say first. At 7:04 a.m. on November 11th, the Public Security Bureau of Baoding City charged Sunn Dawu and others of his company for disrupting production and provoking trouble, a crime that has sent many human rights activists to prison. The arrest was also done by a neighboring city with different regional police powers, which was also seen frequently in the previous arrest of human rights activists. No explanation has been given to the relevant official documents, nor until this day have the police further explained the reasoning behind his arrest. Meanwhile, the local government has set up a working group to take over the Dawu Group and its 28 companies. An employee asked them about the reasons for the incident and was told the authorities were not sure. One source said the cross-border arrest suggests there may have been a high-ranking official behind all this. When taking a closer look at what happened recently in the area, people found some clues. There was a dispute over land between the Dawu Group and the state-owned farm in August. Besides, some believe that Sunn Dawu was arrested for his speech, as Beijing has repeatedly emphasized national security as of late. In an interview with Radio Free Asia in October, Sunn criticized China's economic system, saying, "The communists invented public ownership, but Chinese socialism is supposed to allow the private company to grow, but it's not the case in reality," while he also praised Chinese human rights lawyers as the light to keep a little faith in the law. Moreover, Sunn Dawu also often posts articles pushing the idea of democracy to his WeChat. Those who have the same thoughts as Sunn often gather for private chats, which are intolerable to the Beijing authorities. According to a close friend of Sunn once said, "I have an image of the idealistic world where a rich man can be rich, but not too rich, where a poor man can be poor, but not too poor. We live on the same earth, so neither should people live as in heaven or hell. Now we live with too great a gap between the rural and the city, and too great a gap between rich and poor. What's more is that Sun's actions threaten the status of the rich and powerful. The Voice of America reported on the 18th that Sunn Dawu's friend, entrepreneur, and civil rights activist Wang Yingguo said Sunn Dawu's business development in recent years has been enormous. He built stadiums that could accommodate 20,000 people. His Dawu hospital has at least 16 floors. His fellows and villagers pay less than 10 yuan to get to see a doctor, taking ultrasound and blood tests for a full set of medical checkups. He invested more than 30 million yuan in the construction of schools, and people only need to pay as little as 100 yuan for their children to go to those schools. 8 words were written on the door of his hospital. When a patient walks in the door, the hospital takes full responsibility. What he means by this is he will pay for all the loss caused. This is unbelievable for Chinese people who have frequent medical accidents and have to pay for an ambulance first before getting on board. Mr. Deng, an employee of the Dawu Group, has praised Dawu Hospital for providing nearly free medical care to its employees and villagers. He told Radio Free Asia in an interview that the online story about Dawu forbidding the hospital to make money, but just focusing on saving lives, is true. Specialists from some of Beijing's most famous hospitals are moved by Sun's charisma and come to work at the hospital voluntarily after retirement. However, the practice of Dawu Hospital not only exposed the dirty ways in which public hospitals make money, but has also offended relevant interest groups, and perhaps this became the trigger for Dawu's arrest by the authorities. Even Sunn Dawu himself said that such a clean person like himself can be successful, but that success will not end in a good way in China. Some commentators also pointed out that Sun's arrest could be linked to the recent Guo Jinmentui movement, meaning the state enterprise advance, the private sector retreats, advocated by the central government of the Communist Party. Since the Sino-US trade war, coupled with the new coronavirus epidemic, the global economy has been in the doldrums. The decision makers of the Chinese Communist Party believe that it is necessary to initiate a new economic model, which emphasizes the domestic cycle by controlling everything using state power. On the other hand, Beijing keeps holding more shares and even merges large private enterprises into state-owned enterprises, in the meantime supporting and subsidizing them, so they could compete malignantly in the international arena, winning technologies and foreign capital to China. They are creating a system of government and business with highly centralized resources and power. In recent years, as the CCP's ideology has shifted ever more sharply to the left, with the authorities repeatedly emphasizing that the party leads everything and that the private economy should unite around the party, and they even preach that private ownership should be eliminated and that the private economy has completed its role. The story of Dawu is not legendary if it is put into the context of China's 5,000 years of history and culture. Because in Chinese traditional culture, the quality of kindness is encouraged. During a famine period, it was common to see rich families open their own granary to help the poor. It was also very popular for rich families to set up welfare schools, among other charities. Do good, no matter how small, and do no evil, no matter how small. This concept is promoted by the whole society. However, the CCP has always tried to replace the traditional cultural values in the hearts of Chinese people with party culture. Let me give you a small example. The biography of Wu Shun is the first banned film in CCP's China. Wu Shun is a real character. At the end of the Qing dynasty, he collected money by singing, juggling, and begging on the street, and he used his earnings to set up several free schools. The film was publicly showed at the end of 1950. In the following year, Mao Zedong, the top leader of the CCP, was very angry with the movie. He felt that peasants should be encouraged to make violent revolution instead of doing charity. Therefore, Wu Shun was criticized as a big hooligan, big creditor, and big landlord. The film was banned from showing, and more than 40 crew members were persecuted. Later, another movie tells the story of a conscientious official in the Ming Dynasty who was also banned and criticized on a large scale. Well-intentioned people who strive to accomplish good in their communities are frowned upon by the CCP because it encourages a strength in the communities that stands in direct contrast to what the CCP needs in order to secure their power.